Hey, welcome to 23 Degrees Sideways. Today we're going to talk about boat fires and heaters and winter and everything. So my last several videos apparently got published as private by default, and then I never scheduled a public release date. So everything's kind of messed up in the order of things happening, but a lot of this is evergreen. It's not really tied to anything. Right now I'm recording this just at the end of the big cold events that we had the last several weeks, actually the last month and a half. We've had a couple of those polar vortices. We had so last week, as I'm recording this, and I think I'm going to put this in out of order. I'm just going to put this up. Last week, as I record this, we had the major snowstorm that hit the south that really just there were people running their airboats on the snow as sleds, and snow in Houston, 6 inches of snow east of Houston and 4 inches in Houston, and snow in Florida, and snow everywhere, right? It was pretty intense. So that happened. Excuse me. Last week, and it was a pretty big deal. It hit a lot of people. Well, there was a boat fire near me. Not near me like 50 feet away, but a couple miles away. A friend, and I talked about it. He was right there, right where the boat fire happened. And it's the typical normal thing. There were several boat fires across the U.S. This happens every winter. There's several trailer fires and several double-wide fires. This happens, and there's a common cause. Not for all of them, but for many of them, there's a pretty common cause, and it boils down to something that I think is really important in cruising and live aboard boat circles, and that is attention to detail and safety. And here's what it is. It's electric heaters. Electric heaters start a lot of fires. They do. There's any number of reasons for this. One of them is basically the resistance coil heater is just inherently capable of self-destructing. There's nothing you can actually do about it. You've got those tip over protections, and you got the fans, and you got the plastic, and you got the circuit breakers. Fires still happen. They still happen every year from heaters, from UL listed, brand new, bought that year at Lowe's or Home Depot, not even Walmart, regular heaters. They just happen. They're just not terribly safe. Now, these don't blow up and start a fire instantly. There's usually a telltale. There's smoke. There's something going on, and it's really solvable, okay? People every year who are in front of a heater will have some warning sign. There'll be some scorch mark. There'll be blackened wires. There'll be something going on. You'll smell, the receptacle will get discolored from overdraw and bad wiring. That's often a problem. Often a problem is the extension cords, thin gauge wire. Like the problems aren't necessarily in the heater itself. It's just the power. Because remember, your cords, your wires are a resistance coil in a sense. They're a resistance source, and they will heat up. Okay, you can actually, if you want to try this, take a regular $30, $40 off-the-shelf heater, 1500 watt kind. Take a regular household, so we're talking 12, 14, 16 gauge, nominal. They might actually not be. Extension cord, right? Just take those two things, plug them in, turn it up on max. Turn everything up, wait about an hour, and go grab the part where they plug in together. Go grab it and tell me how warm it is. And realize that is in the wires, and that can get worse, and that if you've got a bad connection, it can get even worse. Anyway, point being, heaters cause fires, and it's usually detectable if you're present. Almost always, when the fire goes out of control and actually burns, when you actually have a problem where you lose the boat, you lose the RV, you lose the trailer, you lose the house, it's because someone wasn't there. Okay? Maybe they were home in a different room and they just never figured it out. And then by the time they did figure it out, they didn't know what to do, so they never solved the fire. Fighting the fire is actually, if it happens, if you got a small fire, that's a whole nother conversation. You should be able to handle that on a boat. Like if you're doing the boating, you've got the fire extinguishers. You need to have them to have the boat. Like it's actually, there's laws about that. It's one of the, it's not that I have a respect for the law. It's one of the easy ones to comply with. It's like, don't break the law when you're breaking the law. There's things you just don't do so that you don't have to worry about other things. But putting out the fire is not hard. Okay. There, you've got an easy single electrical source for boats. You just unplug, undo the main power. You've either got a breaker in reach or you've got a cord in the cockpit or on the dock or something, and you put out the fire. They're really simple. So most of the time, no one's home, or, it's quite common with trailers, for example, to see an electrical fire starts and burns it down and the people are home. They're just passed out drunk, or some other reason they can't see the fire and respond to it. You can see it, you can respond to it. Here's the key. This is what I'm getting to. You should all filter into one obvious thing. If you're not there, no heater runs. Turn off everything you can that is a risk when you leave the boat. Okay? Sometimes, for some people, that includes turning off the fridge, turning off the propane fridge. That's, just to go walk the dog. Do you need to do that? If you have a propane fridge. I'm like, they're pretty safe, they're pretty reliable, but yeah. I mean, if you know for a fact that you're not going past the dock wall and it's a 10-minute walk and you're coming back and the boat's open and everything, you're not even locking up, maybe, examine your risk yourself. But generally speaking, if you're leaving the boat, everything is off. Okay? Exceptions I will make will be, of course, the battery system, the solar charging for the battery system, and in our case, the little electric refrigeration unit, because it just doesn't have a risk. It doesn't have a shorting risk that's significant. It just doesn't have it. Maybe I should rethink that because there's a 1 in a million chance, but no, I don't have a problem with the fridge. I would have a problem with leaving a heater on. The whole point of a heater is to make stuff hot. Hot stuff burns. Like, this seems pretty obvious. It's kind of like batteries. So there are good batteries and there are bad batteries in terms of lithium. The lithium iron phosphate battery tends to be very safe. Okay, you have to do some really stupid stuff to make it go poof. Lithium ion polymer batteries, lithium ion batteries that you find in cheap handheld chargers, rechargeable flashlights like Olight or something. Not trying to pick on that brand. It's just a brand. Whatever. Those can pop, and they do pop. If you go to a jewelry show or a gun show or a craft show where there's a whole bunch of people doing, the cheaper end of the lithium powered rechargeable stuff, flashlights, illuminators, whatever, sights, telescopes, illuminated telescopes, you're going to hear over the course of a weekend, you're going to hear at least one explosion from a battery. Just guaranteed. I have never been to a big show, more than 50, 60 vendors where that did not happen at least once. So that can cause a fire. It's something to think about. It's something to examine in your risk analysis. Where do you put them? What do you do? And just saying, I put it in the back of the boat in the lazaret doesn't mean that the stuff in the lazaret isn't going to catch on fire, because that's usually where you dump all your chemicals, which are generally pretty volatile, and volatile means they evaporate in the air and cause flammable gases. So, big deal? Quite often, yes, that is a big deal. So more stuff on that. There's really not a whole lot else to say, except that this is a fairly simple problem that is easy to solve, and you just have to make some decisions around that. A lot of people right now out in the area, in the field, like in the docks, at anchor, when they're going to town for the day or whatever, are running heat pumps. Okay, if you've got the electricity to run it, you're running a heat pump. It takes the seawater in and does the heating stuff. It expels the seawater out. It's just a marine refrigeration and heating system that doesn't use like the open resistance coil ceramic or type of heat thing that you're using in your little electric heater. A lot of people leave those on. A lot of people leave those on for the weekend. A lot of people will leave those on and check them once a week at the docks in the winter, and they're pretty safe. So, make some judgment calls on this, but look at what causes fires. Look at where the fires come from. And because fire is a big deal, man. It's a really big deal on a boat. Everything on the boat will burn. Okay, you have an aluminum hulled boat, but everything in the boat will burn. The fiberglass will actually burn once it gets going. The wood will burn, the fuel will burn, the wiring, everything will just like go. So make your analysis, do some basic safety things. Never leave a heater, an electric heater, a diesel heater, a fueled heater, unattended, and leave. Just don't do it. That's very simple. If you're using a heat pump, different situation, different technology. I understand it. I don't have one. I haven't really got my head around that yet. Keep your gasoline safe. Keep your gasoline vented. Just do. If you live in the boat, you should probably have some alternate blower system just on all the time. You have these blower systems that are mandated for gasoline fuel engines that are inside storage. Maybe you should have a smaller vent system, just a smaller one. You don't have the super loud one. Maybe you should have a smaller one that just runs all the time. Just a little bit of air circulation, Lots of things. Storing your gas cans inside is obviously a don't. Propane shutoffs, all sorts of stuff. That's just basic safety. What I'm really getting at here is unplug the heater, turn off the heater, whatever you have to do to the heater when you leave the boat. Basic safety. That's exactly what happened to this guy. He left the heater on because the weather, because it was freaking 14 degrees outside, and he left to go do his job and go back. He's a permanent liveaboard or seasonal liveaboard. I don't know which specific, but he went to work. All right. And he's not a cruiser, or maybe he is. Maybe it's seasonal work. I don't know. He came back. Fire trucks everywhere. Because he left the heater on. Why did he leave the heater on? Because he didn't want to be cold. Okay. Suck it up. I don't know. Warm up the boat when you get back. It's not worth losing your entire house over. So, manage that, measure that. I guess the radiator heaters maybe are a little bit better, and you could leave those on. I don't know, but he had a problem, and it was a heater. And it wasn't even an electric heater that sits on the table and has the tip over problems or anything. It was actually a installed electric heater with forced air, but it was still electric. It still blew up. Just, it happens. Don't do it. Don't mess yourself up by ignoring basic safety. The deeper part of this, excuse me, I just hit my tripod twice. The deeper part of this is the idea that if you live on a boat, you need to treat it like a boat. You need to treat things in a fashion that there's a lot of things in a boat that can break, that can sink you, that can catch on fire, that can do whatever, fall over. You can lose your mast because you've never checked anything because you're a liveaboard and you've been there for 5 years, and the mast goes because you never tensioned anything and something broke. All this stuff is possible. You have to treat the boat like a boat to really make this work for you. Not like a trailer, not like a crash pad, not like an apartment where someone else comes and fixes it, or even analyzes it for you. You have to treat it like a boat. Like, put stuff away, clean up, turn stuff off when you leave, examine things, know that something isn't working, don't use it. Just basic. There's a philosophy here, and I really struggle to actually communicate this simply and effectively. The boat has to be ready to be a boat at any given moment to really properly be a safe, comfortable, and happy living experience long term. If you have a 32-foot bayliner, whatever, and the engines don't run, and you're living on it, and you're never going to move it from the dock, that is totally cool. Don't start the engines every week. They don't run. But take all of the other systems on your boat and treat them as a boat. Check your seacocks. Check your plumbing. Make sure the wiring's doing the right stuff. Make sure that the boat is clean. Seal the windows. Do all of the boat stuff. If you eventually make the engines run, that's even cooler. If you don't want to have any gasoline on board at all and you're just going to ignore the engines forever, great. Fill up the gas tank with water. Or something. Like, don't let the fumes be there. Do the stuff. Get rid of the gas tanks. Get rid of the engines. Get rid of the heads. Just do whatever it is you need to do to eliminate the problems with that system that you're not going to maintain. But maintain the systems. Do the stuff. Be proactive. Be ready. Don't let the trash pile up. Don't skimp on your propane or butane safety. Don't just randomly toss electric heaters everywhere because it got cold that night. Just deal with your environment and deal with your technology and deal with your boat. Boats are technical. Even the simplest boat is still technical. You've got the lever arm of the oar. Something. You've always got to figure that out. So treat it that way. And the best way to think about this, best way to really enjoy it and be like, yeah, is to just be a mariner. Sailor, boater, whichever. Be a mariner on your boat. Do the painting, do the scrubbing, enjoy it. Like, really make it into part of your leisure time that you're going to maintain the boat. Check stuff out. Be interested, okay? If you're living on a boat with no interest in the boat, I don't know, go find something else to do for safety's sake, or, at least give this some thought, right? Try to enjoy the process. Try to enjoy it. It's always a process. There's no completions. It's always process. Try to enjoy it, but definitely pay attention to it. If you treat the boat like it's gonna go somewhere, like you're ready to go offshore and everything's ready, it's 10 times safer. It's infinitely safer, okay? So, long answer, be a mariner. Short answer, turn off the heaters before you leave the boat, or the trailer, or the van, or the house, whatever. Plug-in electric heaters are dangerous. Don't do it. Stay sideways.